Hi, I'm Christy and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm here with some football romance recs. So today's video is actually a collab with B from Mama Needs to Read Romance, which I absolutely adore her. I think we met like last year when we had both started our channels around the same time. It was so much fun to just connect with her. If you're not following her, definitely go check her out. She's just so much fun. I'm always laughing. Like, she does the most hilarious intros in the best way. She's amazing. And so I was so excited to do this collab with her. B had mentioned recently to me that she was reading this football rec that I had recommended a while back, and she was obsessed with it and loving it, reading the whole series. And so we were both like, we should collab and then let's do like football recs. It's fall, it's football season, like let's go. So I have just under 20 football romances to chat about today, and we were chatting about American football romances. And anyways, I'm so excited to get into them. I'm one who's not really into watching football like at all. I was never into football. There's just something about like a sports football romance that I really enjoy. So I guess I need like fictional football and like then I like it. I don't know. Anyways, I'm excited to get into this. I can't wait to check out B's recommendations as well, which I will link her video in the description of this video so you can go and hop over there and watch hers. I can't wait to see the ones she chats about and recommends. I do have a variety of football romances to rec today. So some of these are standalones, some are part of a series, which I will mention when I chat about them. I also have some that are high school football, some are college football, and then of course we have like NFL professional league football as well. And then I do have a couple in here that are coach football romances, and then I also have one that is kind of like sports adjacent, like it's football watchers, viewers going to the games, but it's very like football centric. So yeah, I can't wait to get into them. And without further ado, we'll just jump into it. So first up, I have Old Fashioned by Candy Steiner. This is book 4 in her Becker Brothers series, which is a small town series centered around these 4 brothers. So they each get their book. This is the last book in the series. You can definitely read them as standalones, but there is like an overarching plot, kind of mystery plot with their family that's happening that does culminate in this book. But if you don't care about that, you could totally read this as a standalone. So this one, the heroine is a single mom. She has a sports medicine degree. She was recently divorced from her abusive ex-husband, and she is just ready to like get her feet on the ground and start her own life. So she ends up landing a job as the new athletic trainer for the high school football team, and she is so excited to get in there and start. And this football team, they are championship winners. They have tons of awards, and their head coach is the hero, who is one of the Becker brothers. I just love this kind of like sweet and slow burn romance between the hero and the heroine in this one. At first, he's not too sure about her being part of the team and working for the team, because he's like, she's totally going to be a distraction to the team and to the players. But of course, like, she's a distraction to him as well. So I loved seeing that play out. The heroine's daughter also plays football, or wants to play football. And it was super sweet seeing the hero kind of help her out, you know, because like being a girl trying to play football and all of that, it was just so cute and so sweet. Next up, I have Too Safe by Abby Millsaps. So this is a college football romance, and it's why choose as well. So basically in here we have one heroine and multiple heroes. This one is the first in the series, and it's just like a really fun time. So they're very entertaining. Basically in this one, the heroine ends up overseeing something that she's not supposed to see, and the heroes realize that she was a witness to it, and they kind of don't believe her when she says she doesn't know what she saw, and like she's not going to talk to anybody. So they end up kind of kidnapping her, or light kidnapping her, and bringing her back to their house that they all share this estate, and basically are like, you're gonna stay here until we can believe you, or to make sure like you don't talk to anybody. So yeah, it kind of goes from there, and she starts a relationship with all of the guys of the house. They play football, or a couple of them are football players for their college, and so we get some like college football games and all of that. It's just like a really fun why choose romance series. Book 2, actually Too Fast, just came out this week that I'm filming it, and so yeah, they're just like a fun time. They end on cliffhangers, so just know that going in. But like, if you just want entertaining smutty fun, like, this series delivers. So next up is Coach by Devney Perry, and this is the first book in her new series, which is the Treasure State Wildcats. So we're going to get an entire football romance series, and I'm so excited. Book 2 is supposed to come out in 2024, but back to Coach. So Coach is the first book in the series, and this one, it takes place in small town Montana. And in this one, the hero actually just gets a new job as the head coach for the college football team that he played for back in the day. So he ends up moving back to a small town, and he brings along his daughter, because he is a single dad hero, which love to see it. And he ends up reconnecting with the heroine, who was actually used to be his college best friend, that they almost had a moment. They like kissed back during college days, and were finally gonna maybe become something. But at the same time is when he found out that his ex was pregnant with his daughter to be. And so the hero kind of ghosted her and totally left and never talked to her, and it took off to go be like a responsible father. So like, we get it. But yeah, so now they're back in the same place, and they're actually both working for the college football team as well. So the heroine works for the admin for the school's sports department team, and she is definitely trying to stay away from the hero. She was still hurt from him leaving in the past and never talking to her about what was going on. And so she's like kind of trying to avoid him, and he is though determined to get her back in his life. This one was just super fun, super charming, super sweet with the hero's daughter and the heroine bonding. Like just so good and so cute. So yeah, if you're in the mood for a sports college coach romance, check this one out. Next up is Hail Mary by Candy Steiner. This is actually book 4 in her Red Zone Rivals series. So this is an entire series of college football romances. I definitely recommend the entire series. I know most people have read Blindside, which is the most popular book in this series, which is book 2, but I'm going to talk about book 4 today, which is Hail Mary. So this one we actually start off with the hero and heroine as teenagers. They both play online video games and kind of connect that way and become friends online. He doesn't realize who she is, but she actually knows who he is because of his gamer profile name, and she knows that they both go to the same high school and that he's like this super popular football player while she's not part of the popular crowd. We cut to 7 years later and they're in college, and we know the heroine has been hurt by things that happened in the past. And yeah, so we kind of go from there. These two, they are part of the same friend group, and when something goes wrong with the heroine's living arrangement, she ends up moving in with the hero and some of their mutual friends. And the hero is just like determined to woo her and win her. He doesn't realize like who she is and with the complications of their past. And so while she's trying to avoid him, he is just like super cute and charming with her. But yeah, if you love kind of secret identity trope, this one is a lot of fun. I really love that the heroine is curvy, she's tattooed, she's pierced, she's into video games. Like I just loved that about her and how sassy she is and like doesn't put up with the hero's crap. So yeah, just so much fun. Like I said, the whole series is really fun, but they can all be read as standalones, and this one is great. Next up, another college football romance is The Rivalry by Nikki Sloan. So this one is so much fun. Basically in this one, the heroine is the cheerleader captain for Ohio State, and the hero actually plays for the college's rival team for Michigan, and he plays football for them. So in this one, the heroine lives and breathes Ohio State. She lives and breathes football. Back in the day, her dad used to be an offense coach for the football team. Her mom even gave birth to her like in the middle of a game. So like everything in her life is football. So at the beginning of the story, she's attending a friend's wedding, and her friend is like, hey, you talk about sports all the time. Can you like chill? I want to challenge you to like not talk about sports at all for the wedding party. And so she ends up meeting the hero, and of course they can't talk about sports, so it's not on the table, and she doesn't realize who he is. He doesn't know anything about her, but they totally hit it off. At the end of the night, he ends up giving her his phone number, but he accidentally doesn't hit in one of the numbers on it, so she's like missing one of the numbers to his phone and can't text him or communicate with him. She ends up reaching out to her friends who are at the wedding and is like, hey, who was that guy? Like, where can I see him? And so they tell her like, oh, he like frequents this bar. So the heroine shows up there, and that's when she realized that he plays football for her rival team. And yeah, it kind of goes from there. She wants like nothing to do with him because the heated rivalry between them is so strong on her part. And the hero is more like, I'm into you, like, let's just make this work. Like, I don't care about that. So this one was just pretty fun and definitely low inks, minus the whole like rivalry bit. So yeah, definitely recommend it. Next up is Scoring the Player by Rebecca Jinchak. So this is part of a sports romance college series, but this is the only one where we have a football player. So that's why I'm chatting about this one today. This one's college football. We have opposites attract, and then we have fake dating as well. So in this one, the heroine has kind of crushed on the hero, who is the team's like star football player, and she's crushed on him for a while. And so she's actually at like a frat party when the story starts, and she's talking to a bunch of her friends about why he's so cute and so hot, and she's super into him, but he'd like never be into a girl like her. And so the next day, they don't realize that somebody was actually filming or recording their conversation and posted it online. It's gone viral. And she's like super embarrassed because now everybody, including the hero, knows her feelings towards him. That same day, she ends up actually getting stuck in an elevator with the hero. And while they're in there, they start chatting. And he's like, well, hey, everybody already thinks we're together. Like, why don't we just go with it? Like, I have some drama with my ex. Like, let's just fake date. So yeah, another one that's just cute and low angst if you're in the mood for kind of like that football popular hero paired with a shy wallflower virgin heroine. Like, this is definitely for you. Next is Broken Boys Can't Love by Macaulay Smelter. This is another sports romance series. In this series, the sports, I will say, is very low. like low sports action. We don't get a ton of that, but all the heroes in the series play different sports, and this one is a football player. So this one we also have brother's best friend, and we have forced proximity because the hero and heroine end up becoming roommates. So this one, the heroine is in the sports world as well. She's been a ballerina her entire life, but now she's kind of second guessing if that's what she wants to do as a career. Like she's kind of thinking she wants to be a dance school teacher or something like that. Ends up moving in to her brother's place with his two teammates who are his roommates, and of course one of these guys is the hero. So her and the hero, they end up becoming roommates. Their rooms are kind of connected or next to one another. They even share a bathroom. I like to see how over time they become friends. And I loved seeing how the heroine asks the hero for intimacy help because she's a virgin and she's actually interested in somebody else. So it kind of goes from there. And of course, along the way, they're going to realize they're perfect for one another instead. So yeah, if you want one that's brother's best friend and kind of that, you know, keeping their feelings under wraps because they live with her brother as well, definitely check it out. Next is On the Shore by Laura Pavlov. So this is part of her Cottonwood Cove small town series, and this one I had such a good time with. Basically in this one, the hero is an NFL player, and he is kind of deciding what his next move is going to be for the upcoming season, like which team he's going to go to. And so he's kind of tired of all the spotlight and these like reporters hounding him of what his answer is going to be. So his agent is like, hey, why don't you escape, get out of the city and go to my place in this small town. So he shows up at the small town, which is actually the heroine's hometown as well. And she has escaped there because the hero actually got her fired from her sports reporter job. Yeah, the hero accidentally, like on his side, got her fired. He doesn't realize that she got fired though. So when he sees her in the small town and they're both in the same coffee shop, he's like, oh my God, are you stalking me? Like, can you not? So yeah, it kind of goes from there. It's so much fun. They end up spending a lot of time together because he realizes that she lost her job because of him and he feels bad. And so he's like, why don't I tell my story to you? Because he's kind of this like tight-lipped football player who a lot of people don't know about. And so he's like, I'll tell my story to you and you can like break the news of which team I'm going to go to if you hang out with me and we train every day, because she's like a runner. And so they spend all this time together and it was just so much fun. Love it. Definitely check this one out. Next is Rush by Samantha Towell, and in this one we have the NFL football player hero, and the heroine is actually his coach's daughter. So in this one we see the heroine, she recently came out of a detox and rehab program after getting arrested for a DUI, so she does struggle with alcoholism, but when the story starts, she's been a sober alcoholic for the past 6 months, and so her dad is trying to help her out and ends up getting her a job as an assistant for the team. And so the hero and the heroine, they meet on her first day, kind of like in the locker room, and they totally hit it off. There's like sparks flying and all of that. But as soon as he realizes who she is, that she's his coach's daughter, and he kind of knows like the history of what the coach's daughter was into, like he immediately shuts her down and kind of gives her the cold shoulder. But yeah, once he realizes who she is and like puts it together that she has alcoholism, he definitely doesn't want anything to do with her. Like his own father struggled with alcohol. And so he's like, no, thank you. Like I don't have that space in my life for somebody like that. And so yeah, over time we start to see the hero realize more things about the heroine's past. They actually end up becoming really good friends. So he kind of realizes that there's more to her, there's more to her story, there's a lot of trauma and hurt from her past, and that he shouldn't hold her past over her head like that. So yeah, I just love this one. It's very emotional, and the heroine, she kind of gets taken in by his entire family, which was just so sweet. Definitely recommend this one. Next up is The Game Plan by Kristen Callahan. So this is actually the one I believe B said she read that she loved and kind of started this entire video idea. So yeah, we're probably both talking about this one. So this one I have reread it a couple times and I just love this book so much. The hero is the most precious, bearded, tattooed, pierced, cinnamon roll, football player, virgin hero ever. Like I love him so much and he should be protected at all costs. Like love him to pieces. I also love it here how the hero has been pining for the heroine for years. He knows she's the one and he's just waiting for her to realize that as well. They're kind of both in one another's lives. She's actually his best friend's sister-in-law. So they end up spending time together when they're friends. Well, her sister and his best friend, they got married and they had a baby. And so the hero and the heroine end up showing up there to kind of give the couple a break and take on some responsibilities with the baby for them. I just loved the chemistry in here. I love the hero. Like, if you love cinnamon roll heroes, definitely read this one. I also liked how they showcased kind of like how realistic a long distance relationship could work and kind of the complications with that as well, because the hero is from New York and the heroine lives in New Orleans, and so they kind of deal with that as well throughout the story. Definitely recommend this one. It is a favorite of mine. I love it so much. Next up, I feel like everybody's read this book, but if you haven't yet, is The Marriage Effect by Carla Sorensen. This book is so good. It's the third book in the Washington Wolves series, which this series actually is the start of 3 other, I think, spin-off series from her in this same huge football world. So I recommend the entire series and all the spin-offs as well. If you want like football universe, like read this series and like the spin-offs. This one is Grumpy Sunshine. We also have Marriage of Convenience. And in here, the hero is kind of like a single parent or the guardian and ward of his 4 younger sisters. The hero is one of those kind of like cold, just very focused football players who doesn't give away a lot about his personal life. He's just like determined to play football well and take care of his sisters. They mean everything to him, which I love. At the beginning of the story, we see one of his sisters ends up getting into an accident, and so they're all at the hospital, and his brother shows up and is like, hey, I'm gonna like fight you for custody for these girls because like obviously you can't take care of them. And so the hero immediately goes to his lawyer and is like, what can I do to make sure I stay, you know, the custodian of my siblings? His lawyer is like, I mean, the easiest way to fight this is to show you have like a stable family unit and like get married, like get a wife. Around the same time, the heroine actually ends up with the hero's phone because they were like at a party and he left his phone behind. And so she's trying to return his phone to him and she knows he's at the hospital with his sister. So she's like, let me get up there and just drop off his phone to him. But of course, security isn't going to let her through without being like a family member or something like that. And so she ends up being like, okay, yeah, like I'm his fiance, like just let me up there. So she thinks it's just going to be like this teeny tiny little white lie that of course nobody's going to pay attention to. Of course, it's the total opposite and people hear about it. And then the hero's like, hey, this could actually kind of work for me. Like, are you cool? You know, like marrying me and going along with this. So yeah, it goes from there. I love this book so much. It is an all-time favorite. Definitely recommend it. His sisters actually end up getting books as well, which is the Ward Sister series, which comes after this. Just so good. Definitely recommend. Next up is Fumbled by Alexa Martin. This is actually the second book in her entire football series. I definitely recommend this entire series. It is so good. It has the vibe of like WAGs, which is, you know, basically the entire friend group. They're all wives and girlfriends of football players. The whole series is super fun. The author, actually, she is married to a former NFL player as well. So it definitely feels more real, I would say, than maybe some of these other books do, just because of the author's own experience with this. So this one is a second chance romance, which if you know around here, I love a second chance romance, which is why I wanted to recommend this one. So in this one, we see the heroine. She's 16 when she finds out she's pregnant. So she ends up actually leaving town to take care of her child on her own. And then we cut to a decade later and she's actually working as a waitress at a nightclub trying to provide for her son when the hero shows back up in her life. Things definitely get complicated from there. The hero is her high school sweetheart, her ex-boyfriend. And so all of those old feelings come rushing back, but they definitely have a lot to work through as well with kind of like the trauma and the hurt and of course the secrets. So the hero in this one, he's just kind of been living his football dream for his life and just very focused on his career. But now with the heroine back in his life, he's kind of starting to second guess or think about the actual dangers with his career and what his future will look like. That's one thing I really loved about this book is how it doesn't just focus on like the popularity and the fame and the money that comes with being an NFL player. Like it does talk about the real dangers that are involved with the sport as well. So I just loved seeing those kind of balanced with the romance of this book. Next up is The Wrong Game by Candy Steiner. I swear Candy Steiner has so many football romances and I recommend all of them. So this one is the one that I was saying is football adjacent because the hero and the heroine, none of them are football players, but they go to a ton of football games. So basically in this one, the heroine has 2 season tickets for her favorite football team. She had originally purchased them for her ex-husband, but now she's the owner of said season tickets. And so one day she's at the bar with her best friend before the game. And so her friend's been kind of pushing her to get back out in the dating world. And she's like, hey, this will be the perfect opportunity. Like use these tickets as kind of like a very low key date with somebody. So she kind of convinces her to bring a new guy to every home game to just kind of keep it light and cool. So while discussing this at the bar, the bartender who is the hero ends up overhearing and he throws his hat in the ring and is like, hey, why don't you take me as like your first date to this? Their chemistry in here was so good. And I loved how sweet the hero is to the heroine, and I love how determined he is to like end up going to all of the games with her. I just love this one. Like this series in general is kind of like, I feel like not a lot of people love it, but I loved it so much. Like I had a good time with both books in the series. I laughed, I swooned, I smiled. Like I just loved seeing this couple get their HEA. The next up is the next book in the series, which is The Right Player by Candy Steiner. So in this one, we follow the best friend of the heroine of the last book who like convinced her to go on those dates. So now we get to see her book. This one, the heroine is an interior designer and she got her heart broken back in college when her college sweetheart was dating her. She thought they were going to go the distance, but he ended up breaking up with her and was like, I mean, you're not the type of girl who like you can bring home to family. Like you're just a fun time girl. So she was devastated and heartbroken and decided from there on out, like she's not going to date sports players. And she's also just going to like lean into being just a fun time girl. So she thinks that she's not somebody that anybody could settle down with. Like she only goes on 3 dates with guys. And and just kind of like owns her sexuality and is fine with casually dating and like turning over dates quickly. So yeah, she's just the type of girl who's just down for a hookup. She doesn't want to go past 3 dates with guys because she doesn't want her feelings to get involved, because she doesn't want her heart to be trampled on again. Then enters the hero, which is a new football player in town. So this one again is one of those books with a true cinnamon roll hero, and I loved seeing this. The hero actually grew up in Hawaii with his 4 sisters, and he was very into like 90s rom-coms. So he is like a true romantic at heart and was always kind of devastated when girls would just friend zone him in high school. Then once he became a popular NFL player, the kind of opposite happened, where women were throwing themselves at him just because of the fame and the popularity and the money that his lifestyle could bring to them. So he's kind of tried to stay away from women and doesn't want to tell anybody that he's a football player. Like, he just wants to kind of fly under the radar because he feels like as soon as women find that out, like they just go overboard and throw themselves at him. So yeah, the hero and the heroine meet, and he finds out that she actually loathes football and stays away from it because of the, you know, issue with her ex in the past. And so he's like, this is perfect. Like, I don't have to tell her I'm a football player. And so they end up going out on a date, and it kind of goes from there, where he doesn't tell her he plays football and she's just kind of like blindly going along with it. And I love how the hero is just like the ultimate teddy bear in here, and the heroine is just like quickly ready to hook up with him after their first date. And he's like, whoa, 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 like, let's pump the brakes here. Like, I want to get to know you. Like, I want to woo you. Like, I want to charm you. Like, I don't want to jump into the physical side of things before like getting to know who you are. So to her, like, she can't believe it because like nobody does that with her. And I just loved this one. I loved how he kind of breaks down her walls and the way he woos her, and like just the angst it creates because of them not getting into the physical side of the relationship first. Just so good. Next up is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. I feel like everybody has read this book, but if you haven't, it's like a classic football marriage of convenience romance. So this is a slow burn, because of course Mariana Zapata is the queen of slow burn marriage of convenience football romance between the football player hero, and he's kind of like that broody man of few words kind of hero, and he ends up having a marriage of convenience with the heroine, who was his assistant slash housekeeper slash did everything for him, but she quit. This one's just so fun. If you haven't read it, I definitely recommend. It has great forced proximity because, of course, she moves in with him. Just so good. A classic. Next is The Dating Playbook by Farah Rashan. And in this one, it is an entire series where we're following these 3 women who actually all ended up meeting because they were dating the same guy. So at the beginning of the series, they all ditch the guy and they become friends. And so we get to see all of these heroines get their stories. So this one, the heroine is a personal trainer who's in debt, and she has a lot of bills piling up. So she needs some money quickly and a new client like ASAP. So then at the right time, the hero enters her life, and he is a former NFL player who had a serious knee injury, which ended up leading to him exiting the game. And so now he kind of needs this new trainer because he actually wants to try to enter back into the football world. The only catch with him working with the heroine is like he makes her promise that she can't tell anybody that they're working together, because he doesn't want like people's hopes to get up or people to think he's training to try to make a comeback. So there is that little like caveat to it. So of course, when they're seen together and people just assume they're dating, he's like, hey, we need to go with this and run with that, because like I can't tell them like you're my trainer. So it ends up turning into a fake dating. So this one is a lot of fun, but it also has a lot of depth to the characters as well. The hero in here, he is dealing with the grief and kind of feels responsible for the loss of his best friend who passed away. And the heroine as well, her character, or she's trying to figure out if she has a learning disability as an adult. So I kind of liked how we got more to the characters than just their sports interaction. So yeah, definitely recommend this one. Next up is Autumn Nights by Willow Astor. I actually ended up just reading this one last night. The audiobook recently came out, so I wanted to jump into it because it's a single dad hero and he's a football player. So I mean, all of my favorite tropes. So in this one, the hero and heroine meet at a party and they totally hit it off. Sparks are flying, but then she overhears him on the phone talking to somebody, and he's talking like very lovingly and talking about his girl and all of these things. And so she assumes he's talking to a significant other and is like, oh my God, like I don't want anything to do with this guy. Like he's a total cheater. Like get out of my life. I've had enough cheaters in my life. Like I don't have time for you. So she kind of like gives him the cold shoulder and takes off. This one, the heroine's an interior designer, and they end up meeting again because her boss is working on the house for the hero. And so they are in each other's lives again, and he kind of is like, hey, like, why aren't you liking me? Like, I thought we were kind of going somewhere. Like, what happened? So she tells him, calls him out as a cheater, and he's like, oh my God, like, I was talking to my daughter. So, of course, the heroine's like, oh my god, I feel so dumb right now. And so they end up becoming a part of each other's lives because she decides to take on his house as her interior design project. So yeah, this one is a very low inks. I will say it's very light on the sports action as well. Like the hero is a football player, but I don't think we even got to see any football time. Like he always goes away for football things and we don't see it on page. But I mean, sometimes you're just in the mood for a lighter sports romance. So there is that. I did really like how in this one, the heroine realizes that the hero's daughter uses sign language to speak. And so she learns ASL as well immediately to try to communicate with her. And that was just so, so sweet. All right, so then I'm going to leave with one that is on my TBR actually. So it's Wrath by Ellis James. I had wanted to read this one before doing this video, but timing just didn't work. So it is what it is, but I plan to get to it soon. So this one is an MM football romance. They are enemies to lovers and they are stepbrothers as well. So I feel like that angst could be so, so good and I can't wait to check it out. All right, so those are all the football romances that I have to recommend today. Definitely let me know in the comments if you have any for me to check out. I love football romances so much and I'm always adding to my TBR. Let me know if you've read any of these or if you plan to. I definitely wanted to give a good variety of romances so that if you've read a couple of them, you might find one or two that you haven't seen or haven't read yet. So yeah, let me know if you're gonna pick any of them up. And then of course, don't forget to check out Bee's video as well. I am so excited she wanted to collab on this with me and I can't wait to see which football romances she recommended. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos and I'll see you in my next one.